I used to deliver hotshot freight across the Great Plains area. One night around 2 a.m., I was hauling across North Dakota trying to reach Montana by morning. I was delivering a particularly valuable tractor part that a farm desperately needed for the following day. I began to notice some highway hypnosis sneaking up on me, but it didn't really bother me because I'd been through it hundreds of times before. Anyone who has driven across North Dakota knows that it is incredibly flat, like really flat. There also tends to be very straight and long roads. It's somewhat easy to see things on the road that are far away, even at night. I noticed something long on the road, spanning my entire lane, approximately half a mile in front of me. I slowed down a little and prepared to move into the opposite lane, thinking it was just a big log. As I got closer, I noticed it was two people, laying head to toe across the entire lane. I swerved into the other lane, successfully avoiding them, and came to an almost complete stop. But they didn't move. Not an inch. I was just about to back up and check on them when I remembered a story that an old graybeard colleague of mine told me. He told me that in certain remote areas, people will lie down in the middle of the road and wait for a car or truck to stop and see what's going on. At that point, the road layers, along with whoever else is hiding in the nearby bushes, will beat the shit out of the driver and steal his vehicle, leaving him in the middle of nowhere. I decided not to back up, and when the two people in the road saw me put my truck back in gear and drive away, they both got up and walked towards the shoulder. I called the police and explained what happened, but we were so far away from civilization that I doubt anything came of it. Thanks to that old graybeard, I got to keep my truck, my job, and my teeth. I was heading from Tucson, Arizona, up into Salt Lake City in Utah. This was a few years ago, and the main highway was closed due to a flash flood, so I had to take a detour through the mountains in lower Utah. It was getting late, and I was getting tired, so I pulled off onto the shoulder on a lonely mountain road and went to sleep in my bunk. Now this was in the middle of nowhere. The closest town was like 40 miles away, so it is completely pitch black outside. Around 4 a.m., I woke up because I heard something messing with my truck, like playing with the air and power cables between my cab and the trailer, which is literally 6 inches from where my head was, but on the outside of the cab. Then I feel something climb onto the landing that's on the back of my truck, and it shakes my whole truck. I'm guessing something around 200 to 300 pounds was climbing around back there. I'm thinking like a mountain lion or a bear. At this point, I'm wide awake, and I want to get this thing away from my truck, so I slam my hand into my cab wall trying to scare whatever is out there. I then hear someone, a male, scream bloody murder, and I hear them fall off the back of my truck. I then hear about 15 other people all around my truck yelling. I climb up front, turn on my lights, and illuminate a squad of Army reserves doing their midnight ruck march and capture drills. It turns out these guys were supposed to go find an abandoned truck and secure it for their midnight drills. That truck was 3 miles back down the road. They were not expecting me to be sleeping there and thought I was a part of the drill. I'm ex-military, so after explaining I was not a part of their test and legit was just there out of coincidence, we laughed it off. They had to radio to their CO and tell him I was there and not have the other squads bother me. I was an experienced truck driver based in America. I'd always been comfortable sleeping in my cab, but this one night still gives me chills. I pulled into a Purdue plant, dropped off my empty trailer, and parked right next to a nice little pond, and went to bed. 30 minutes later, at about 3 a.m., I hear something tapping on my passenger side door. I get up, frightened, and look out my window expecting to see someone. Maybe a driver asking for a lumper check, but no one was there. Maybe I'm just hearing things. I walk back to lay down, thinking about what could have made the creepy noise. As soon as my head hits the pillow, I hear the tapping again, except this time it's on my driver's side. Is someone playing pranks on me? Same thing as before. I jump up and look out my window, but nothing is there. I double lock my doors to be safe and open my side hatches so I can hear what's going on outside. After about 15 minutes, I hear a very light splat, splat, splat going along the driver's side of the truck. It sounded like someone was walking very carefully in small puddles. I slowly get up, planning to look out my window at the exact moment somebody knocks on my door. All of a sudden, I hear a thud coming from the roof of the cab. Has someone climbed up to my roof? I'm frozen in shock, listening carefully after noises. I jolted as a damn goose falls from the top of my truck and lands on my hood. It stands up, waddles back and forth, and looks at me. As we make eye contact, the tapping at my door starts again. I burst open the driver's side door, and to my surprise, I saw another damn goose waddling away with all the speed it can manage, honking like a 5-year-old who just found the horn on his new bike. The pond I parked next to had a ton of them just dicking around. Needless to say, it was hard to sleep that night, because every couple minutes the geese would peck at my door or land on the cab and waddle around. Today, whenever I think of that night, I always burst out laughing. It was a dark night as I drove my semi-truck along a desolate highway, miles away from civilization. The darkness enveloped the road, and the only source of light was from my truck. Suddenly, a strange light caught my attention in the distant sky. At first, I thought it might be a shooting star, but as it grew closer, it became evident that this was something else entirely. The light was too bright and moved with an unnatural swiftness. It danced through the clouds, leaving a shimmering trail behind. I pulled over to see what was happening. My heart pounded as I parked the truck on the shoulder of the road and stepped out, my eyes fixed on the mysterious spectacle unfolding above. The UFO, for that's what it undoubtedly was, glowed with an eerie luminescence. I was in disbelief as it flew past me and disappeared into the night sky. My hands shaked uncontrollably as I fumbled for the ignition. With a roar, the engine rumbled to life, and I accelerated down the road. Thoughts raced through my mind, trying to make sense of what had just occurred. Had I really just witnessed a UFO? The logical part of my brain tried to find rational explanations, but there was no denying what I had seen. I might have been hallucinating, but I'm pretty sure I spotted a real UFO